Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, how are we getting on? So in today's video we are going to follow on from our video last week about the launch of Steel Rain on the PTS and take a closer look at everything available in this update and that is currently on the public test server. So lots of bits and pieces here. I will be following up with some more close-ups on a couple of specific items in subsequent videos, so do keep an eye out for those. But let's get stuck into this. Okay, so a couple of points before we dive in. A few people asked after last video whether or not they were going to be fixing some of the issues with the previous update, the one that arrived in the end of April. And that will be coming in a patch update that is due next week, if I remember rightly. I would imagine that'll be Tuesday coming. That's basically geared towards fixing the current issues. The PTS is, however, testing stuff for the July update, which obviously is going to be another very, very large one. So you won't have to wait till July for those immediate fixes, but for the big new stuff, that's what we're looking at today. So the next thing on here, as we see, the Bethesda.net forums to be sunset. So I'll probably touch on this again at some point, but the basic gist of it is they are closing down the forums over the next sort of 6 weeks or so. The Bethesda subreddit will be staying the same. You'll be able to check all the Fallout stuff on there as per usual. And obviously their social media accounts will all be accessible as per usual as well. But if you want the usual forum sort of services, those are being shifted over to their Discord servers, as apparently that is the place to be these days. So if you are interested in accessing these particular features, that's where you'll need to do it. Obviously, put a link to this post down below as well, and you'll find links through there to go and check it out yourself. One of the other key points about this, obviously, is the regular website will be staying as is. So if you want to submit any support tickets, anything like that, you can still do that in the same way. That won't be affected by this. Okay, so new features. First and foremost, obviously, Steel Rain Update has the Steel Rain questline. This will be following on from the Steel Dawn questline that we've already gone through. If you want to access it, you'll need a character that is level 20 or higher and has completed Steel Dawn. If you are on the PTS, however, they are putting some pre-made characters in, which we'll touch on in a bit more detail in a moment. But those characters are able to jump straight in, and there's also one on there who has effectively already completed it. Obviously, you can jump in, and even if you haven't worked your way through to the end of Steel Dawn, you'll be able to test it out if you're on Bethesda.net on PC. Anyway, obviously, PTS is only available through there at the moment. So, eligible characters logging in will get a quest called Knight's Penance, which will lead you to speak with Russell Dorsey at Fort Atlas to continue the Brotherhood story. Or alternatively, you can use pre-made characters. So yeah, this will take us through the rest of the story. If you are jumping on to test other elements or want to avoid the Steel Dawn questline, I should say, do not go into Fort Atlas, like the main structure, because if you're trying to avoid spoilers, you might get a few that way. So just bear in mind if you are trying to avoid that, but if you are diving in, dive in. So, new vendor, Minerva. This is very, very cool. So we have a Blue Ridge caravan merchant called Minerva, who is basically a gold bullion vendor who exists in addition to Samuel at Foundation, Mortimer at Crater, and Regs at Vault 79. Basically, the way this is going to work is she will have a rolling stock. It's not constant, and she will move around on different days, be in different locations. It seems to be a 3-day based cycle, so she'll probably spend 1 day at Foundation, 1 at Atlas, and 1 at Crater. It's also a 2-part schedule, at least it is on the PTS, and I'm guessing that will translate over to live. They haven't really been very clear on it. Seeing the stuff over here, not over that way. But basically the way it works is she has changing stocks, so you can access the various items you would be able to access from the other vendors. There's nothing unique here, with the possible exception of some of the rewards from daily ops. So those of you who aren't doing daily ops and still want the rewards, this is another way you can get them for bullion instead of by running the daily ops, which is very cool. Another key point to note, however, is that the faction reputation system is being maintained. So if you don't have enough rep with the settlers or the raiders, you will not be able to access the reputation locked items through Minerva's inventory. That's the word I'm looking for. You will have to still earn that reputation, but the items that are not reputation locked, you'll be able to get directly from her. The reason you may want to do this instead of going to, say, Regs, who is the main one, or directly to one of the faction vendors and picking up the lower ranked stuff, is because Minerva, though she does have this rolling stock, so it may not be available at the time you visit, the stock she has is a little bit cheaper, so you can either get it at a higher price straight away from the vendor, or you can sort of wait for it to come into stock with Minerva and pay less for it. So that's basically the benefit at the moment. Obviously, this is just the earliest version of the PTS, so this may well change and be updated. and maybe be made a little bit more worthwhile, hopefully, because right now I'm not sure what the scale of the discount is at the moment. It's not marked on here, so not quite sure just how valuable an addition this is. Being able to get access to daily ops stuff if you don't want to run daily ops is definitely a bonus, so that is a cool little addition. So one open question at the moment that may or may not change over time with this is that some of the previous season rewards are available for gold bullion. I would guess that some of those will also be available from Minerva stock in time. It would seem like a sensible way of introducing some of those things that people might have missed, like the greenhouse stuff, into the game for you to pick up if you've missed the opportunity. So that would be very, very cool. As I say, nothing confirmed on that yet. It's pure speculation on that possibility, but fingers crossed, worth mentioning to Bethesda as an idea, perhaps, via the forums while they're still there. So very, very cool. Something I think we're all very, very excited for, Legendary Crafting is coming with Steel Rain. It's the first of the Legendary system updates that are coming this year. There is other stuff coming later on as well. So with this update, we're implementing Legendary Crafting System, which can turn normal items into Legendary items and re-roll existing Legendary items attributes, and even upgrade or downgrade their star ratings. Still not sure on why you'd want to downgrade, but I don't know, maybe reduce the RNG a little bit. In short, the way this works is you craft your non-legendary item, and then you will craft the legendary attributes onto it. And to do that, you will need legendary cores, which are a new item. Those are available from either completing daily ops or public events. So the ones with the exclamation mark, the big events, the ones that also drop gold bullion, they'll give you legendary cores as well, so you can grind those out. And you'll also need legendary modules, which you pick up from the purveyor. So you'll still have to turn in your unwanted legendaries, turn those in for script, head over to the Rusty Pick and pick up legendary modules, like you do for crafting, say, Secret Service armor at the moment. As to whether or not this will affect things like Secret Service armor and any of the existing items, they haven't said, and I haven't had the occasion to check. I will go into more detail on this when I've got a bit more information and I'm able to pick up some legendary cores and stuff, so I can actually demonstrate it for you. So video on that to follow. But in general, you'll visit your weapon and armor workbenches, open the modify menu, and get started with legendary crafting. Presumably it will be apparent when you dive into that menu. Obviously, I will take a closer look in the next few days. So, legendary cores available by completing seasonal events, public events, and daily ops. Legendary modules available from Purveyor Murmagor in exchange for legendary script. So, we've already got that. Okay, so basically this is going to work by applying the legendary upgrade you want. So, if you've got a 1-star item and you apply a 3-star upgrade, you will upgrade it to a 3-star item. Conversely, for downgrades, if you've got a 3-star item and you apply a 1-star upgrade, then it will turn it into a 1-star item. If you apply the same number of stars upgrade to an item, you'll effectively re-roll it. So if you've got a 3-star item and you apply another 3-star upgrade, you get a different set of legendary attributes. So that's how you re-roll, as opposed to winding up with like 6 or something. Okay, so this system will work in much the same way for legendary power armor, which is also coming with this update. Very, very cool. Definitely excited for that. Obviously, that won't stack with regular armor, because you get into power armor, it takes off your normal armor. So hopefully that shouldn't be too overpowered. It should mean that those who favour a power armor build will have the added bonus of actually having legendary armor, which is quite cool. So the big thing that changes is that there are a couple of armor attributes that you can't get on legendary armor. So in terms of the 1-star ones, auto revive, which gives you the chance to revive using a stim pack, can appear on normal armor, cannot appear on power armor. The reason for that, I would guess, is because there is a legendary perk that has the same effect. So rather than doubling it up, if you want that particular attribute, you can take the legendary perk, and it also kind of frees up an extra legendary star slot as well. So that's cool. So in terms of the 3-star ones, these will be the weakest tier of legendary attributes. Reduced falling damage is absolutely pointless on power armor, because it does that anyway, so that won't be an option. Improved sneaking. You won't be able to be harder to detect while sneaking. There are mods you can attach which create a stealth field, so there's that. So it kind of makes it pointless. And divers, which would grant underwater breathing, which is pretty rubbish at the best of times, is also relatively pointless, because if I remember correctly, power armor does that anyway. So that's that. So, legendary attribute balance changes. So this applies to the different abilities that legendary items can have. So these are getting rebalanced. There's some new ones coming in. I believe some of the crappier ones are supposed to be coming out, but there's no clear details on that aspect of it here. There are some cool details on the new stuff that we're getting. So the 1-star stuff, which is the most powerful attributes, We're getting the new Aristocrats, which I suspect is going to change, and is also going to be one of the more powerful things to get. So damage increases as your caps increase if you are an Aristocrat, up to a maximum of 50% extra damage at 29,000 caps. So there's a couple of things we can infer from this. Firstly, that the 30,000 caps limit is not going to be changing anytime soon. Otherwise, why would the upper limit be so close to it? Yeah, 29,000. 50% extra damage at that cap rate will mean those of you who have not very much to spend your caps on will have a reason to maintain a high cap threshold in order to gain that damage increase. This is for legendary weapons, incidentally. Very, very cool. However, 50% is double all of the other attributes that increase your legendary damage, so this seems overpowered. It would be one of those things that everybody's just going to go straight for it. So I suspect this will probably come down and be more in line with everything else by the time the patch goes live, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, for now, if your damage increases as your caps increase, up to a maximum of an extra 50% to 29,000. So Juggernauts is a new one. Damage increases as your health increases. Maximum of 25% extra damage at 95% health or above. So for those who like their high health builds, the opposite of the Bloodied, that's what the Juggernauts will do. And that's pretty cool. I think this is going to be a good one as well. Obviously, you can see with that 25%, that's a massive difference compared to the Aristocrats. Why would you pick Juggernauts when Aristocrats is twice as good, given that you have more control over your cap total, in a sense? So, you know, you take damage, your damage output drops with Juggernauts, so you'd probably favour Aristocrats. I think that's going to be the way to go either way, particularly if you have a lot of caps. Heavyweight. This attribute is still a work in progress, and is currently non-functional. Look for it in the next PTS update. Basically what this is going to do, inferring from the armor stuff, which we'll see in a moment, is increase your damage based on how much stuff you're carrying. So the higher your carry weight, the encumbrance, the more damage you'll do. So obviously it's a work in progress. It'll get updated as the PTS rolls on, so we'll get more information then. But interesting nonetheless. There's a bit more details on that in the armor section in a minute. So Gourmands, which you'd think would apply to cannibalism given the proclivities of that former group of raiders, but damage increases as you fill your hunger and thirst meters to a maximum of 24% damage. Also odd that that doesn't line up with the 25%. So again, probably going to get tweaked. The less hungry and thirsty you are, the more full your hunger and thirst meters are, the more damage you will do. Again, another reason why I think the Aristocrats will come down. So 2-star, the second tier. Last Shot is a new one. Final round in a magazine has 25% chance to deal double damage. Not particularly spectacular. Also cannot apply to single shot weapons like black powder rifles or pistols. So if you have to reload after every shot, every single shot would be the last shot, which would make it way more overpowered than it is intended to be, so it won't appear on those. Steady looks very, very useful. 25% extra damage while standing still. That will be a nice roll, especially if it's stacked with one of the other damage increasing legendary effects. That would make it a brutally effective weapon. And Inertial replaces 15 action points with each kill. Not particularly great. And they've only got one 3-star new attribute, and that is Ghosts, which is obviously going to be the least effective one. Attacks that hit enemies have 10% chance to generate a stealth field. Not particularly wonderful. Maybe potentially useful if you're playing a stealth commando, something like that, but I don't think it'll be one people rush towards. Personally, I think there are better options out there. So, the armor changes. These are somewhat similar to the weapon, but we've got a little bit more information here on a couple of things. Again, we have Aristocrats. In this case, it's energy resistance and damage resistance increasing as your caps increase, with a maximum of plus 20 on regular armor, plus 35 on power armor, if your caps are at 29,000 or above. Heavyweight. This cannot currently appear on the PTS on regular armor, though it will be worked on and appearing in the future. But on power armor, it will give you plus 35 of each resistance if you are carrying more than 350 pounds. If you're under that, the amount of improvement will decrease. So we can infer from that that legendary weapons with the heavyweight attribute will do more damage the more carry weight you have. And we have an Overeater's 1-star legendary effect for armor, which increases damage reduction up to 6% as you fill your hunger and thirst meters. Not particularly spectacular, but if your damage resistance is already high, well, the higher your damage resistance, the more benefit you'll effectively get from having this, because obviously percentage. But yeah, not bad, but not fantastic, I don't think. So, 2-star legendary attributes, we have Gluttons, which means your hunger and thirst will grow 10% slower, stacking up to a maximum of 50% slower if you have it on all your legendary armor. Fireproof gives you 25 fire resistance. Warming gives you 25 cryo resistance. That could be handy. Hardy means you will receive 10% less damage from explosions. So, presumably that will stack up to 50 as well, because maximum of 5 pieces that can have it. So, that would kind of offset the need to use Fireproof, the perk, if you have that equipped. If you've got all your armor is reducing your damage from explosions, there's basically no point in using Fireproof at that point. Or you can have it stacked, but either or, you'll probably reduce it by enough that you won't be taking any damage from those sorts of things anyway, or not enough to speak of anyway. So that's quite cool, potentially very useful. And the 3-star attributes, we have Doctors, which means Stimpaks, Radaway, and Radax are 5% more effective. Not a big deal, really. Burning, 5% chance to inflict 100 fire damage to melee attackers. Electrified, 5% chance to deal 100 energy damage. Frozen is 5% chance to deal 100 cryo damage. Toxic is 5% chance to deal 100 poison damage. Again, all to melee attackers. And Dissipating is quite cool for those of you who don't want to keep your rads on. Slowly regenerate radiation damage when out of combat. We've already got attributes that will regenerate your health. Now we've got one that will allow you to regenerate radiation damage, so you can really get back up to that full amount. So this Dissipating one will be particularly useful for those of you who want to keep your health high. If you're using a Juggernaut's weapon, for example, that increases your damage the higher your health is, that will be pretty cool. So stack those two things together, keep your health up, and it means you'll be able to go through less Stimpaks, so that's quite cool. So, legendary weapons. Assassins is up first. Damage versus humans is increased from plus 10% to plus 50%. And that's going to be consistent for most of the enemy-type specific damage buffs. So most of those are not great, but buffing it up to 50% is a major increase, and it makes those weapons a lot more valuable. Which is what you want, given that you'd have to carry a range of different weapons for different circumstances if you're going to go down that road. But it does make that significantly more effective. Very, very cool. Berserkers. This one is more damage the lower your damage resistance is. For now, this will remove the damage debuff when your resistance is at 80 or above. So previously, if you had more than 80 damage resistance, you'd be doing less damage. Now that won't be a problem. It'll just be base damage. And the damage buff when damage resistance is between 1 and 60 has been slightly reduced. So the actual damage output on Berserkers is coming down a little bit, but you won't get a debuff. So that's cool. So Exterminators and Ghoul Slayers and Hunters and Mutant Slayers weapons are all having their damage increase buffed from 30% to 50%, making those more effective against the type of enemies you're facing. Mutants. This is the one that operates based on how many mutations you have. This is being buffed as well. So it's got updated functionality. Damage now increases by 5% per mutation that affects the character, up to 25%. So if you've got up to 5 mutations, you'll be doing increased damage. So 25% extra damage. It makes sense that it's not as high as the other ones because it's across the spectrum. Like, all enemies will be affected by this, not just the specific type that the weapon is focused towards. So I can see why that's a bit lower, but that's good. 25% extra damage across the board makes that a lot more viable, I think. That's very, very cool. So Nocturnal. This one has been a joke since 76 came out, and frankly it was a bit of a joke in Fallout 4 as well. They have removed the daytime debuff, so you will do base damage in the daytime as opposed to having it reduced, which is great. And the nighttime damage buff has been increased. Now, I haven't been able to find any details on what that was before or what it will be after, but good to know that you will be doing more damage with a Nocturnal weapon. For unique items like Whistle in the Dark, which you can get from Daily Ops, that makes that actually vaguely interesting. I mean, it's still a pretty meh effect, but particularly for roleplay, stuff like that, it might be a bit more valuable. And yeah, they're not as trash as they once were with these particular changes, so that's cool. So Suppressors has had an interesting change. Damage reduction applied to the target has been buffed from 20% for 3 seconds to 25% for 5 seconds, so you'll be dishing out more punishment for longer with Suppressors weapons. Cool. No, you'll be taking less damage for longer with Suppressors weapons. Let's get that the right way around. Whoops. Troubleshooters, as per, 30% has been increased to 50%, so more damage against robots, and Zealots, again, for Scorched, more damage against those too. 2 stars, the secondary effect, Bashers, now does more damage when you are bashing with the Basher's weapon. Hitman's, the amount of damage done while aiming has been increased from 10% to 25%. I've got a couple of weapons with that attribute on them as well, so definitely happy about that. Little bit of a damage boost is always nice. And VATS enhanced weapons will now have an even higher chance to hit in VATS. So, only a couple of changes for legendary armor. These are 1-star ones. Assassins now reduces damage taken from all humans by 15%. I believe it was 8% in the past. So Assassin's armor will be more useful than it currently was. And Nocturnal armor will now have its daytime debuff removed again, and the damage and energy resistance is now increased 10% per piece of Nocturnal armor. So it will give you higher damage resistances than it used to, which is about what we'd expect. So, all in all, basically buffs across the board for the crap stuff, and a whole load of new attributes coming in as well, which is great. Now, coming down to the last couple of bits and pieces, Meat Week is coming back over the summer, as we would expect. Very, very cool. And it is currently on the PTS, because these things usually need a few creases ironing out. So the big thing here is we have some new rewards in it. So you can jump in, test it again on the PTS if you want, or you can check out the rewards on one of the pre-made characters. And we have a little look at new rewards down here. So we've got some for Steel Rain. These are quest line rewards. So you complete a quest, you get the reward. Blah, blah, blah. You know, we all know how that works. And there are some for Meat Week as well that are listed here too. So, Steel Rain questline rewards. Facebreaker is a legendary power fist. That is pretty cool. It's not a life-changing one, but if you want to go for a punchy build, it's quite cool to have. I do really like the design on this. I think it looks cool. It's not overstated, and it looks particularly like it would work for raiders as well, which is cool. But I do like the look of this one. Very, very cool. Hellcat Power Armor is a new Power Armor skin, in short, I believe. Unfortunately, we can't check that out just yet, as it's not available in the game. It will be coming with the later parts of the PTS update. If I get the chance, I will show you what it finally looks like. Should be very cool, but the visual side of things is not available to see just yet. The Mercenary outfit is pretty cool. I really like this, actually. I definitely want it. I can see myself wearing it. Got a very, very Wasteland vibe. Got some cool bandolier of bullets on there. It looks definitely interesting. It definitely fits the Mercenary vibe. I like it a lot. Brotherhood Civvies outfit is also quite nice. It's sort of nice toned down kind of Brotherhood style. Looks good. It's very Wastelands as well. I like some of the details on that. Cryogenic Bed, I currently know nothing about, as that is also not available in the game yet. At least on the PTS anyway. It'll be available once the update goes live, obviously. So, Meat rewards, we have a grocery cart grill. This is interesting. Basically, it's a bicycle attached to a grocery cart that you can use to cook your food. It's a bit big, so you may want to factor that in when you're placing it in your camp, but it's cool. It's very, very Wasteland and sort of ramshackle vibe to it, which I like as well. It's got a cool new animation, which unfortunately is, as I say, broken at the moment, so hopefully that will get fixed fairly soon. So we also have a plastic fruit wreath, which is just a little piece of wall decor that we can see. And we have a plastic fruit bowl, which goes on tables and the like, which is also very cool. I imagine that one will be under the floor decor tab, because of course it is. Everything that's ambiguous ends up under there. And for those who are fans of Blackadder, let me know if you know the episode I'm referring to, but we also have the decoy duck set, which is fun as well. So, last but not least on this detail overview, we have pre-made characters in your PTS account. So for those of you who are jumping into the PTS, Bethesda.net on PC only, of course, you will have 3 characters available that are in addition to your regular ones. So you'll have a longer list of available characters to choose from than usual. So there are 2 quests characters. Those are set up ready to start the Steel Rain quest line. So basically it will let you jump into the new quests without having to get your previous characters through Steel Dawn if you haven't done that already. The last one is the rewards character. That will allow you to check out basically the Steel Rain and Meat Week quest rewards that are available with this update. I don't think we have access to any of the new daily ops rewards that will obviously drop with this, but we'll have to wait and see on that. I will have to check in more detail. So keep an eye out for upcoming videos on that particular front. So, on that note, I'm going to wrap things up reasonably quickly. There's a lot of very, very cool stuff in here. The legendary attribute changes and the new legendary crafting system look really cool. As I say, I'll go over those in more detail in a subsequent video once I've done the work necessary to be able to do that. So, you're just going to have to hold on a little bit on that one, but that will be coming. But yeah, some very, very cool stuff in here. Definitely happy with all this. Looking forward to checking out new quests. Obviously, everybody's always looking forward to that. Not entirely sold on the new vendor. Being able to pick things up at a discount is always nice, but I think they need to go a bit further maybe with it to make the new vendor more interesting, and maybe including some more of the old rewards from seasons and stuff like that being available for bullion in that particular inventory would be a good way to increase the value of the new vendor to players. So yeah, plenty of room for improvement, I think, but also some very, very cool stuff in here that I am very much looking forward to. So, thank you very much for watching. Do hope you found it useful and informative. If you did, please do consider dropping subs, likes, and all that good stuff. Very much appreciated. Social media links, merch store, and channel memberships also available down below the video as well if you're interested in supporting the channel in that way. Massively, massively helps out, so huge thanks for everybody who has already done that. And do keep an eye out for live streams as well. We are going to be jumping back into Fallout and starting off Mass Effect 2 with the Legendary Edition in the next few days as well, so I do hope you'll join us for that. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.